I'm really lonely. And a lot of it is, yeah, I would like a physical sexual relationship, but I haven't had that in years. And I would like to have it again. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this brand new episode of the Nick Speaks podcast. I am your host, Nick Comstock. This is the podcast dedicated to the disabled community where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your host, Nick Comstock. You guys, thank you so much for joining me on this Tuesday. I am so glad that you're here with me each and every week to discuss the disability community and disability lifestyle. We always have great guests, and I always, if I don't have a guest, try to come speak with you to my heart, from my heart, which is what I'm going to do today. And I pray that you'll stay throughout the whole show because I just really want to talk with you guys about what's been on my heart for the last week. And really, it just hasn't been on my heart for the last week. It's on my heart really all the time. And this is the first time I'm bringing it to the Nick Speaks audience. So I hope you'll stay tuned for my monologue today. But first and foremost, I want to thank my sponsor, Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio, for sponsoring this episode. You guys, there's not a greater gift that you can give for the holiday, in my opinion, than a massage. And you have those people that are difficult in your life to buy for. I can't think of anything better than to get them a Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio Christmas gift. And you really should do this. And our friends at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio have said we will give Nick Speaks listeners and viewers 20% off when they register online. So please do that. Maybe you can take a best friend with you and you guys can go get massages together, or, make a whole day of it. Or maybe you're a businessman and you're just like, I need to relax after a hard day of crunching numbers in the boardroom. Hey, treat yourself, go get a massage. It'll be the best thing you've ever done, and get 20% off while you're at it. So go visit my friends at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio today. When you sign up for your massage, make sure you use the code Speak Up to get 20% off your visit. All right, you guys, today I really want to talk from my heart to you, as I said earlier. And what I want to talk about is, you know, I am a wheelchair user. I have 24/7 caregivers in my life, and I've had them for as long as I can remember. My family started out caring for me, and then I started getting caregivers from the state. And now I've had caregivers from the state 24/7 for the last several years. So I've never really had an opportunity to be alone. I'm not alone right now. As I tape this podcast, I have a caregiver sitting in the room next door, and I can hear him watching TV. You guys can't hear it, but I can. And so I'm never really alone, even when I'm alone, like in my room, in bed, asleep. I'm never really alone. But to be honest with you guys, even though I'm never really alone, I'm so lonely. Like, I just can't explain it to you guys. I'm around caregivers all the time who are wonderful to me. They're like my family. If you follow me on TikTok, shameless plug at Nicolas Comstock on TikTok. If you're not following me already, I almost have 78,000 followers. Um, I say this all the time on my TikTok page, and I've said it multiple times here, that a caregiver is a friend when there are no friends to be found. But the difference between a caregiver and a friend a lifelong friend that you have is the lifelong friend is not paid to be your friend. And caregivers are paid friends. And I almost kind of feel like a charity case because they take care of me, that's their job. They make sure I'm safe. And the friendship that we end up building is kind of a bonus on top of our working relationship. But states are always finicky about that. Caregivers don't get too close to your clients, don't give out your phone number. Of course, we don't have that policy here in Ohio because uh, caregivers, kind of have to give out their phone numbers to their clients, especially if they're living with their clients. They have to have a way to get a hold of them. And so I do have my caregiver's phone number, so I don't have that issue, but there's a major difference in a paid friendship and a personal friend that has been your friend for your whole life. And right now, I don't have a lot of those lifelong friends around. I really haven't had them for years. Once I left high school and got out of the routine of getting up and going to school every day, there were several years where the only people that I saw were my friends and were my family members and the people who cared for me. And for a long time before I brought in caregivers, it was just my friend, it was just my family. And then I would see people that I would go to church with. And then after I would go to church with them, it would just be back to my family. And so I've really had this longing ever since high school, maybe even before, just to have that person that isn't my family, that isn't a paid caregiver, just to have that person just to hang out with, to go to the movies with, to um just say, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling and I really want to go and have a deep conversation with you about it." Because although I can have deep conversations with my caregiver, everybody likes to talk about boundaries, and there needs to be certain types of boundaries that we have with our caregivers. And I'm like, hello, these are the only people that I see every day. So, plus they see me naked. So, what boundaries are we talking about? To me, boundaries are already out the window. Something else that I struggle with, though, is, I say I'm never alone, but I'm lonely. And that's true. I'm never alone, but I am very lonely. But I would love the chance to actually just be alone. If my disability just disappeared for 30 days, say God came down to me and he said, "Nick, I'm going to heal you of your disability for 30 days and you can do whatever you want." I would fast track, go get my driver's license and get in a car alone and just drive until I couldn't drive anymore. Because that is something that I don't have the privilege of doing. I'll watch videos on TikTok and people will say, "I just love getting alone in my car and just sitting alone in my car before I go in my house and have to see everybody." I don't do that. I don't get to do that because when I go in my house, I have somebody following me in my house. And then when I go in my room and I shut the door, I know they're right on the other side of that door on my couch waiting to see what I need next. And I don't want to make it sound that I'm complaining about having 24/7 care, because I'm not. I realize that I need the care in order to live the life that I live. I would not be able to live in my own apartment. I would not be able to go where I want to go when I want to go without somebody being with me 24/7. I realize that. It's just having that one person all the time, constantly with you, and you really don't want them with you, but you really need them with you, because it could be at some times dangerous if they're not with you, and you can't live your life if they're not with you, but you would really like to be alone. I mean, that is just something that I dream about. And it's really hard because I don't have a partner right now. I don't have somebody that I can cuddle with and do all kinds of things that we won't talk about because this isn't the Playboy channel today. Um, I don't have that partner, and I don't have people that I can call up here in my local town of Columbus, Ohio, and say, "Hey, let's go have lunch," or "Let's just you and I go without my caregiver." I don't have that ability. And so even though I have people around me 24/7, I feel so alone. And I don't know if anyone else who has 24/7 care can relate, or if you don't have 24/7 care, if you can relate, um, to always having somebody up in your face, and, just the ability just to take a deep breath and go, and to hear nothing after that, and to know that nothing is on the other side of that deep breath. I don't have that. I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but like I said earlier, I can't just go get in a vehicle and be alone. And I struggle with that because I have a lot of built up anger that I want to get alone in a room where nobody's going to hear me and nobody's going to hear about it afterwards. I just want to get alone in a room and just scream and let it all out. And I don't share I mean, there is a lot of stuff that I share a lot with my caregiver, my primary caregiver especially. But there's a lot of stuff that I don't share, because if I do, I feel like my caregivers are going to be like, "Okay, let's commit this guy, commit him to a mental institution." And I don't think they would do that right off the bat. I have a tremendous care team, but you just have to be really careful with what you say and who you say it to. And so I'm very careful about that. My dream would honestly just be get in a car and just let it go until it runs out of gas, and then go to a filling station, have somebody meet me there, fill it up again, and keep driving until I run out. Just so that I could have that time alone in the car just to decompress. Um, usually my staff that takes care of me in the morning, usually him and I have my smart speaker all the way up to volume 10, and I've got my Southern gospel music on, and I usually skip about the first 20 or 30 songs because for whatever reason, even though I put them on my own playlist, I don't like to hear the same ones over and over again. And my smart speaker doesn't get that. So I have to skip to get to the right ones that I actually like. Um, but this one particular morning last week, I when I was getting out of the shower, we usually have the music on when I'm in the shower so I can kind of sing along or whatever. And this one morning, this last week, when I was getting out of the shower, I told my smart speaker to stop playing music and I told my staff, I just want it completely silent. I don't want you to say anything. I don't want to say anything during this whole process unless I need something. And I just want it completely silent. And I did that. And even though my caregiver was with me, I felt very peaceful. I hear that hairdressers have this thing that if their client comes in and says they want a silent appointment, they won't talk to them the entire time. And I kind of, this is kind of weird. Even though I was getting ready for the day, I kind of felt like I was in a hairdresser chair having a silent appointment. And if you're a hairdresser, you know what I'm talking about when I say having a silent appointment. And the fact that I was only able to tell my caregiver, listen, I'm not going to talk to you for the next 30 minutes. I'm going to not listen to music for the next 30 minutes while I'm getting ready. I mean, I get that that was the big thing, and I'm grateful that I was able to do that. But not able to have the real thing, like not able to get in a car and say, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just going. Uh, that is something that I hope those of you that have the ability to get in your car and just drive somewhere in the peace and quiet of your car, I hope you don't take that for granted. Or if you're able to turn up the music really loud in your car and just sing along when it's just you, I hope you really enjoy that because I don't have the ability just to do that and just be loud with myself. I always have somebody with me. And I want to reiterate how grateful that I am to have somebody with me because I realized that if I didn't, I couldn't live the life that I live today. But I just got to tell you, it gets on my nerves. And if I could just have one day where I was, or 30 days, forget one day is not long enough. If I could just have 30 days where I was completely healed, I didn't need help with anything, I could go out and do whatever I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. I didn't have to go on somebody else's time schedule because even though I have 24/7 care, and the caregivers are here to provide services that I need and that take me places where I want to go. You still have to be considerate of that caregiver's time, in my opinion. And if you're not, you're a crappy client, in my opinion. But that's another story for another day. I I just would love the ability to really go on my own time schedule. And you say, Nick, well, don't you have alone time? For those of you that live in Ohio, you know what alone time is. And I do. I can access my alone time at any time. I have unlimited alone time. But it is not safe for me to be alone for very long at all. Because if I do, I have the bowel movement that can be smelled around the country. Um, and it doesn't just stay in one place, it goes everywhere. Sorry for those of you that are eating breakfast or dinner whenever you're listening to this. Or I drop my phone and I have to call my caregiver and say, "Hey, can you come off of my alone time that I allowed you to take? Can you come off and pick up my phone?" You know, so trust me, I've been alone for hours on end before and it's never gone good. I've always had to end up calling somebody because I get myself in major trouble. I have the world's largest bowel movement, or I drop my phone, or here's a good one, my chair falls on top of me when I'm out trying to drive to the bus to go to church and I break my foot. And staff wasn't there to walk me to the bus, so that didn't happen. So it is really not good for me to be alone and use excessive amounts of alone time. So I always have to have somebody with me, whether I want them there or not. And it's just something that I've really struggled with because on one side, you have the state putting up these boundaries saying, you know, don't be friends with your caregiver. But on the other side, they're the only friends that you have because no one else comes around because they're busy with work or they're busy with kids or they're busy living their own life, able to go on nice vacations while you're sitting here on a shoestring budget waiting for the government to get their act together to reopen, which thank God they finally reopened after 43 days. Good Lord. Um, but anyway, so even though I'm not alone because it's never really good for me to be alone, I just wanted to share and be vulnerable today that as a person who is confined to a wheelchair 24/7 and has to have somebody around them 24/7 in order to live a daily life, that I'm very alone. And I wish, I wish there was a way I could change it. I know that I may get some people on here that say go for counseling. I went for counseling for years and I did. I had a really good counselor. This last time I went to this last time I went to a counselor, he was full of shit. I'm just gonna be honest. My last counselor really sucked. He sat there like a bobblehead and was like, just shook his head up and down for like an hour and a half. Let me vent. Let me say what I want to say. There was no homework. There was no any of this. And I don't know where he got his counseling degree, but he really sucked. And I honestly don't want to go to counseling anymore because then you have to open your heart up to a brand new person. You have to rehearse your story all over again. You have to go through the trauma all over again of telling your story of how you grew up, and Lord knows y'all don't want to hear all that trauma. Trust me. Ooh, I just sounded like Santa Claus. Well, I am Saint Nick. And it's getting close. Are you being good? You better watch out. I'm coming to town. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, but yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope that it didn't put you off in any way. Um I'm a Scrooge when it comes to this. Thanksgiving and Christmas are coming up and New Year's and the whole shebang. And I'm just not really looking forward to it. I'm not. I have some friends that invited me for Thanksgiving dinner. Don't know if that's gonna work out yet. Haven't heard back from them. So if I don't end up going with those friends, then I'm gonna be eating at the Golden Corral for Thanksgiving dinner. Woohoo! which is okay. I mean, hey, Golden Corral, sponsor me. I mean, your fried chicken is some of the best in the world. I don't care if it is Golden Corral or not. Your fried chicken rocks. Um, but yeah, so I'm one of those bah humbugs, I guess, when it comes to um Christmas and Thanksgiving. I'm not all into the fake happiness that everybody has that time. I mean, maybe some of it's genuine, but it's all, what do we got to get for this person because uh we're so tied up with who to buy for, and what if they don't like this, and what if they don't like that. And probably the most that I enjoy about the Christmas holiday season and Thanksgiving holiday season is the food. Then I have to worry about not eating so much food, because if I do, then my staff will have a problem moving me around. And that's another thing I struggle with too. For a long time, I've moved down to one meal a day because I am so concerned about getting so overweight that my staff can't move me. Right now, I'm at I would say a decent, okay weight. I've only gained, last year I was 257, and this year when I went to get weighed, I was 262.8. So I was very happy that I had not gained that much weight. I think it's what, 4 pounds. I don't know. I went to special ed for math. I don't know how to add. Um but anyways, so that's another deep concern, is like, if I take all these emotions and I just eat them away, I'm gonna blow up like a balloon, and then my staff's not gonna be able to move me, and then I'm not gonna be able to do my public speaking and everything else that I want to do. And plus, I just got to be honest with you, it's annoying as hell having a physical disability, because you have to be a millionaire in order to be a physical disability. That's why I'm working in order to be a physical disability. I'm not a physical disability. In order to have a physical disability, you have to be a millionaire. And unfortunately, I was not born with I was not born as a trust baby. I was born with middle class parents who didn't have the sense to sue the hospital after I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, or CMV, whatever they call it. Um, and I say that because every person that I talk to that has a disability, I have not met a broke person with a disability like me. They've all said, Nick, oh, I had, my parents had great finances and we had money and this, that, and I was a trust. And I'm like, damn, like, why couldn't I at least be a trust baby, God? Seriously? Like, honestly. I mean, that way I wouldn't have to suffer financially, and I wouldn't have to fight for ridiculous things that aren't luxuries, they're needs for people with disabilities. Maybe I'll get into that on another episode. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe if I had a little bit more finances, I would be a little bit more stable. And I don't know if I would be a little bit more happy. Although I've heard the statement, and I think it's actually from the Bible, that money answereth many things, or maybe it's all things. I don't want to be on here misquoting scripture. So I think it says money answereth all things, or money answereth many things. I'll just go with many things so I don't get labeled as a heretic on the internet. But so I think if I had a little bit of money and a little more access to resources, maybe I wouldn't be so alone. I don't know. All I know is that I'm alone and I hate it. Um, I have no desire to be a father or any of that. Um, and that's just because I don't want to be I don't want to be a strict disciplinarian like my dad was. And I think I would either be one of the two. I would be my kid's best friend and let him get away with murder, or I would push my kids away and be a strict disciplinarian. And I don't want to be that way because I've seen what has happened when you're a strict disciplinarian and you push your kids away. And yeah, I've seen what happens there. Um, and I know I've turned this whole podcast into my therapy session. I just really wanted to share my heart with you guys because I know that I'm not the only one that is out here as a wheelchair user who has 24/7 care, and again appreciates the fact that I have 24/7 care. And I'm not trying to not trying to get rid of it. Um, but at the same time, I just want to be able to be around my local community without my caregiver, or if I don't want to be with anybody, I can just be by myself. But as I discussed earlier in this episode, that's not possible. So I'm just really coping with it. Um, this is my life and this is what I cope with. Um, and I'm really lonely. And a lot of it is, yeah, I would like a physical sexual relationship. Um, but I haven't had that in years. And I would like to have it again. Will it happen? I for sure as hell hope so. Uh, do I know when it'll happen? No, but I certainly ain't out here trying to catch any STDs, so I'm not in too much of a hurry. Um, but anyway, yeah, I just thought I would share that with you guys. And for those of you that are able to go get in your car and spend some time alone, truly alone, appreciate it, love it, because you'll never know when you have to have somebody around you 24/7 and you'll never really be alone. But let me tell you, if you do get to that point where you have to have somebody 24/7, you will feel extremely lonely because the people on the outside that used to come see you all the time before you got in the God forbid position that I hope you never get in, but just in case you do, the people that used to spend time with you anymore all the time won't, because they'll be too busy with their lives. They'll be too busy with their kids. They'll be too busy traveling. And you'll be sitting in a wheelchair trying to figure out what the hell happened to your life. And don't get me wrong, I have a good life as a person with a disability, and my life, especially within the last year, has exploded with great things. 2025 has been an incredible year, and I'm looking forward to 2026. I just wanted to share what has been on my heart for a long time. And I don't know if this will reverberate with anybody, but I hope it reverberates with somebody. And if you're in the local area, um, and you see me out and about, maybe say, "Hey, Nick, let's go get coffee or let's go get something to eat." Or email me and say, "Hey, I'm in the local area and I heard your podcast and I would love to go get something to eat with you if you're in the local area." And another thing is, too, I got to be honest, is that a lot of people without disabilities think that the only people that people with disabilities want to be around are people with disabilities. And I got to be honest with you, I feel like such a fish out of water when I'm around people with disabilities. Because honestly, when I'm around people with disabilities, I'm not around a lot of people like me who are physically disabled, but mentally enabled, as I say many times on this podcast. And so I kind of feel like I'm an outcast as it is because I don't have a lot of the same mental troubles that my disabled friends, unfortunately, were born with. And so, they're fine with, going to the store and watching hours of TV and just being in their rooms. They're fine with that because they don't know any different. And I do. And it's just like, I want more to life. I want to go paint the town red with friends every Friday night, or even, and that's why church um used to be important to me. It's not really that important anymore. Maybe I'll talk about that in another episode. But I looked forward to church so much because at least people at church, we were all there together, and then they would talk to me, but they wouldn't talk to me outside of church. So that's what kind of turned me off to church. Well, that and so many other things, which I can talk about in a future episode, but I won't today. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Like, if you're able bodied and if you are able to get out and go in your car whenever you want, and don't put in my comments, well, I'm not able to go whenever I want, I have kids. Okay, but you're able to schedule it, okay? And if you're not able to schedule it, then there's something wrong with your freaking schedule and you need to get it fixed. All right? So if you're able to get in your car and you have a half-hour drive to work by yourself or an hour drive, appreciate that drive. Appreciate the fact that you're in the car yelling at the driver in front of you because they're stupid. Appreciate the fact that you're in your car yelling at the driver in front of you by yourself. And you get that time to take out all your anger and frustration, and nobody else has to hear about it except you and maybe the driver in front of you if you're yelling loud enough. But, just appreciate that. Appreciate the time that you get to take a shower by yourself. You don't have to have somebody in there showering you off, making sure that you're showered. Appreciate the time that you have with your husband, your wife, your partner, where you appreciate your time with them. A thing that I also struggle with as a person with a physical disability is the lack of affection that I get. You know, um, I give my caregivers a hug, sure. Um, but then again, they have to be careful because they've been told, hey, don't hug your clients. At least they've been told that in the past. And I've said, screw you, I'm hugging my caregiver anyway. Um, you know, that's because my name's Nicolas, a former Baptist rebel. Um, anyway, but like I don't really get any affection, you know, and so I'm struggling with lack of touch and lack of affection and hey, how are you doing today? And all this type of stuff. I struggle with that. And so if you're able to do that and be with somebody, appreciate that. Appreciate the fact that you're able to hug that person and be with that person and that they are there to listen to your wants and your needs and your concerns and all of that stuff because I don't have that and I wish I did. So I hope this episode wasn't too sad. Actually, I got the idea for this episode from somebody that I was talking to, and they said, and I was sharing a lot of this that I shared with you today. And they said, Nick, you should turn that into a podcast episode. I think that would be really helpful. And so I hope it is. I hope I didn't ramble too much. Because I know I can do that when I have monologues, and I certainly hope I didn't say the word too much, but I'm sure I have people out there that'll say I did or whatever. So bring on the hate mail. I'm big enough to take it. I also want to know your suggestions and your thoughts. Do you think I need to be committed? If you do think I need to be committed, I'm probably not going to listen to you. So you can just shut the hell up. And I really hope that this will inspire some conversation about, how can people with disabilities make their lives better? How can we be integrated in the community more? Um, because, like I said, we don't want to be with disabled people all the time. Well, at least I don't. Maybe I shouldn't speak for the whole disabled community. I don't want to be with disabled people all the time. Um, but yeah. So I hope this resonates with a lot of you, and I hope this helped you. And if it didn't help you, I'm sorry. Maybe I'll have a guest next week or a better topic to talk about, but I just wanted to come share my heart with you. So I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you again to Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. You guys, please go get those massages and use the code Speak Up at checkout. All right. Thank you so much. This is the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.